Now, rock with me on this one, guys, and it's going to be a good one. And like I said, make sure to double tap the screen and like the video. Any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, go ahead and super chat it in. Appreciate the support, guys.
And to look at how the global economy will collapse, specifically how the US economy will collapse because of this war. Now, the argument I want to make to you today is that financial collapse do not happen accidentally or naturally. It has to be engineered. And this is a very hard concept for us to understand, okay? So in economics, there's something called the boom-bust cycle, which basically states that in capitalism, you have the economy booming, then suddenly, for whatever reason, it collapses, okay? It's called a boom-bust cycle. And the idea is that if you study economics, they teach you that this is just a natural part of capitalism because in good times, people spend too much money. They become overconfident. And so then they waste a lot of money and then it collapses. The economy turns bad. And so you have to focus on being more lean and efficient and resilient. So think of, gaining weight, okay? You gain too much weight and then you feel bad, so then you lose weight. And that's the idea of the boom-bust cycle. The problem, though, is that no one can explain properly how and why suddenly.
All right, my bad, guys. Wrong video. This is it right here. Trump World Order. So let's get into it. I know, interesting title, but Trump World Order.
About an hour ago, Donald Trump addressed the American people. This follows an address from Prime Minister Albanese of Australia to his people, as well as Prime Minister Starmer to the British people. And in both speeches by Starmer and Albanese, they said to the people, we know that fuel prices, gas prices are going up, and we should expect more pain, but we will do as much as we can to ensure that your wallet is not too impacted. Donald Trump, in his address to the American people, basically said that this war will continue, and America may start to bomb energy and oil infrastructure of Iran. Okay, so let's listen to a few of his words.
Our economy is strong and improving by the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
Okay, so he's basically saying that we're winning this war and we will bomb them to the Stone Ages, which tells us he's actually not winning this war. Okay, now,
and he's ready to pop off or just ready to commit war crimes, which is crazy.
I also want to look at another person who is Peter Hegseth.
New strategic map.
So remember, this war in Iran, it's not ending. In fact, many people believe it's only starting to ramp up. So there are rumors that Donald Trump has already authorized the use of ground forces. And so we could see an invasion of Iran as early as this weekend, but certainly, definitely this month, okay? But while America is fighting this war in Iran, this is the Secretary of War, Peter Hegseth, and he's announced that America will control all North America.
from Greenland to the Gulf of America to the Panama Canal and its surrounding countries. At the Department of War, we call this strategic map the Greater North America. Why? Because every sovereign nation and territory north of the equator, from Greenland to Ecuador and from Alaska to Guyana, is not part of the global south. It is a security perimeter in this great neighborhood that we all live in.
Okay? So basically, what he's saying is we will enforce the Monroe Doctrine in North America. So it sounds very strange to people in that Donald Trump is fighting this war in Iran that's not really winnable. At the same time, he is being aggressive in North America. He's seeking fights with Canada, with Denmark over Greenland, with Colombia, with Mexico, with Cuba. In fact, he's embargoing Cuba right now, and people expect possibly an invasion of Cuba very soon. So people just think that Donald Trump is
currently we're letting Cuba go through these blackouts and hoping that's going to force a regime change. But until then, we're just going to put that economic squeeze and, of course, not really let any oil really get to them. Now, Russian oil got to them, so they was able to get some oil through Russia. But yeah, we were trying to put that squeeze on them, and that's why they were having like blackouts.
Plays, and he's idiotic. Okay, so this is Iran. And everyone says that a ground invasion of Iran would be stupid because it is much too large to invade. Right now, America has only about 50,000 troops in the Middle East. And the geography, the terrain, makes it very hard to control. Okay, so you have these mountains, the Zagros Mountains, which allows for the Iranians to hide and conduct guerrilla warfare and use drone strikes and artillery strikes. And then you have the desert, which makes it very hard to cross, okay? So even if the Americans were to attack from here, from Iraq, they would have to face the mountains. If they were attacked from Pakistan, from the east, they would have to face deserts, okay? And if they were to attack from the south, they would face all these mountains. And also you're far away from Tehran, which is ultimately your objective. Okay, so there's lots of conversations about what the Americans are trying to do. Right now, the consensus seems to be the Americans first want to control the Strait of Hormuz in order to elevate the strain on the global economy. Okay, but as you can see from this map, first of all, the strait, it's not very wide, and it's very close to the Iranian coastline in the mountains, so it's easy to attack from. And there are these, and then the Iranians can put mines all around the strait as well. So what everyone tells us is that an invasion of Iran would just be idiotic. At the same time, the Americans need to free up the Strait of Hormuz and allow for maritime navigation in order to stabilize the global economy. Okay. Already we're seeing lots of signs that America is preparing for a long, long war. So there are already 50,000 troops in the Middle East, and a lot of them will be deployed against Iran. But also there's a letter from Leonard Anderson to reserves, telling them we must get ready to deploy, fight, and win. Okay, so not only have they sent 50,000 troops to the Middle East, but they're preparing to call up the reserves as well. Okay, so this seems as though America is preparing for total war. Polymarket is a very interesting place to understand how global events will turn out, okay? And so there are three indicators that, in fact, a war is coming, a ground invasion is coming. First of all, the pizza index is exploding. What does this mean? It means that in the Pentagon, when they're preparing to launch a ground invasion, they need to work overtime. And so they call for pizza, okay? And so pizza deliveries are going up. Gay bars are empty, okay? So when people are, don't have much to do, they go and, go on dates. The last is that...
Week, are you assuming that, most people in the Pentagon are gay, which I ain't got no problem with, but I mean, it's pretty much what you're saying.
people are making bets, large bets, that a ground invasion will happen, okay? So these are people who have inside information, and so they go on Poly Market and make a bet that this will happen, knowing it will happen. So this guy bet $200,000 that a ground invasion will happen, and if it turns out a ground invasion does happen, he will win over $1 million. Okay, so these are three very good indicators that a ground invasion has been approved and it will happen very, very soon. Okay, Donald Trump himself has said many, many things. Okay, so he said that, you know what, if we leave the Middle East, it's not a problem. We don't really care, okay? And he also says that, hey, NATO, it's your responsibility to open the Strait of Hormuz because we told you so and because you need the oil. And of course, NATO is angry at Donald Trump because previously, Donald Trump threatened to take over Greenland.
Yep.
Okay, so everyone thinks Donald Trump is just a moron. He doesn't plan ahead. Because before...
They're also mad at him for pretty much like, yo, you're trying to drag us into a conflict that you started and you made the mess, and you're pretty much telling us that we got to clean it up because it doesn't affect you. Yeah, that piss me off too.
This war in Iran, where he needs the help of NATO.
God, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support, but help me out with those likes.
Oh, he was pissing off NATO by threatening to take over Greenland. So Donald Trump is over the place. He's just a moron, right? But let's just assume, okay, that the ground invasion goes ahead. What will happen? Well, as I predicted before, if a ground invasion were to go ahead, first of all, America would lose this war because a ground invasion would fail, and the Iranians are fully prepared for a ground invasion. Second of all, if America loses war, the American empire would die because we'd be forced out of the Middle East. They would lose the petrodollar and the US dollar as a global reserve currency. And the third thing is the global economy would collapse. So clearly, Donald Trump is the worst president in human history. And he's a complete buffoon, right? Okay, but let's put our thinking caps on. Okay, let's use game theory and say, but what if, for some strange reason, Donald Trump wants to lose this war in Iran? What if he wants the American empire to collapse? What if Donald Trump wants to destroy the global economy? Then he'd be a genius, right?
I mean,
right?
I mean, depending on how that works out for us.
He's a moron because he's going to destroy the American empire. But if he actually wants to destroy the American empire, then the man is the greatest American president ever, okay? Okay, so we're going to have a fun class today, and we're going to make the argument that, in fact, Donald Trump is a genius. That, in fact, all this chaos is purposeful. That there's actually a plan behind all this, okay? That's the argument I want to make to you today. Okay, so what is the plan? What is going on here? All right, so first thing to notice is that the world gets 20%, okay? 20% of its oil from the Middle East, okay? Primarily going to East Asia. So India gets about 6% of its oil from the Middle East. Japan gets 75% of its oil from the Middle East. So East Asia is heavily dependent on Middle East oil, okay? But as you can see, it also goes to Europe as well, and then also to the United States, all right? So the world is dependent on the GCC oil. if this war continues, if ground forces are used, then all the oil from the Middle East collapses.
You know what? I remember when we were having our little talks, Monty and my man Gaming was trying to pretend like, well, it doesn't really affect us and all this good stuff. Well, we do still participate in the global trade market. And now some of these supplies or some of these things that we get from overseas is going to have a bit more, it's going to be a bit more expensive due to the increased fuel costs. So, don't act like this don't affect us still. Unless we're really about to become full-on isolationists, like economy-wise and military-wise.
And JP Morgan has come out and said that by mid-April, the world will run out of oil. Okay? So this is a disaster for the world. But it's just much more than energy needs, okay? So because Iran is constraining movement in the Strait of Hormuz, we're seeing 7 major shortages. Okay, so yes, we know oil and LNG are being stopped. Okay, but actually the problem is much worse because look at phosphate, ammonium, sulfur, urea. This is food production. Okay, primarily used for fertilizers. In other words, if this war persists, not only will countries run out of energy, they'll also run out of food. Okay? Also, look at this. Helium and sulfur are used for what? They're used for semiconductors, the production of semiconductors. You use helium and sulfuric acid in the production of semiconductors, which leads to AI, okay? So, in other words, this war in the Middle East.
So not only do we get most of the funding out of the Middle East, yes, most of these AI companies is held by, Saudi and UAE money. And not only that, but we also get the resources from which we gotta make or gotta develop this AI on in the Middle East. Well, I'm pretty sure we can get it from somewhere else, but this is still a bit concerning.
It's impacting everything in the modern economy. Okay? If this war continues, the global economy could collapse. But again, we're making the assumption that Donald Trump is a genius, and this is all part of his big plan. Okay? So what is his plan? All right. So, okay, we know that there's a lot of oil in the Middle East, okay? But, oil is not as rare as people think it is. There's also a lot of oil in Canada. Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves, okay? Russia also has a lot of oil. So in other words, if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, if this war in the GCC continues, it doesn't mean the world no longer has oil. All it means is the world is now much more dependent on North America and Russia for oil. And so the global economy now shifts over to North America and to Russia. Okay? So in other words, the United States starts a stupid war.
AKA, we completely decimate the Middle East and pretty much take all of their oil sales after we leave them in complete, disablement. They're going to be completely destabilized, complete destruction. And we're just going to take all of that. We're going to take all of, all of the demand for oil, and we're just going to just transfer it over to us. And we're going to satisfy that demand for oil, and we're going to get rich. And our petrodollar stand very strong. If it works out like this, he's right. I mean, it's either 4D chess is being played before our eyes, or this man Donald Trump might literally be crashing out. Either one is a possibility.
Over to North America and to Russia. Okay? So in other words, the United States starts a stupid war in the GCC in the Middle East. It can't possibly win, but it still benefits because now the world is much more dependent on North America. Okay? Why is Venezuela important? Because America just took over Venezuela in January. Okay, and look, Canada has a lot of oil, and Trump is threatening to take over Canada. Okay, so now let's look at who needs the oil. Well, this map tells you that if you're in the red, you consume more oil than you export. And who are these countries? Well, they're Europe, okay? And they are East Asia, as well as Australia. Okay? So, yes, I understand Donald Trump's an idiot. Yes, I understand that he's going to lose this war in the Middle East. Yes, I understand he's going to destroy the global economy. But for some strange reason, he benefits. And the United States benefits. Because now, Europe and China, Japan, Australia, they're much more dependent on North America for resources, for food, for energy. Okay? All right, food. Okay, so nitrogen is important for fertilizers. Okay, you need nitrogen for fertilizers.
Yes. Sir.
And as you can, and what this map tells you is that if you are in the blue or the light blue, it means you produce more nitrogen than you need, so you export it. If you are not in the blue, then you're kind of screwed. Okay, so basically, this area, this area especially, this area, okay? Europe, as some parts of Europe, okay? So now they need more nitrogen. And again, before they were getting a lot of nitrogen, ammonia, from the Middle East. And now, where are they forced to get the nitrogen? From here and from here. Okay? So again, yes, I know Donald Trump's losing this war in the Middle East, but in the long term, America stands to benefit. Okay. Last thing I want to look at is water. Okay? Water is important because water tells us which areas are the most stable. Basically, if you have a lot of water, you're less prone to conflict. But if you don't have that much water, then you're prone to conflict, okay? So we look at, so if you're in a dark blue, you're good, okay? Nothing to worry about. If you
he's saying is, hey, look, man, if you got water, you're good. If you don't got water, you're going to be fighting with the people who do got the more water than you. And basically over here in Africa and all this. Because, you know, it's actually crazy because that's a lot of what some of these wars were started over. Resources mainly. So, I mean, a lot of people kind of take that out of people's or these old empires' expansionist ways. It was really over resources because where they lived at, there wasn't enough to sustain their people, enough of a certain resource to keep their people going. So they had to go outwards and take resource from other people. Just the way it worked back in the day.
Are in the light blue, you are in a lot of trouble. Okay, so if we look at this area, North America, pretty stable because lots and lots of fresh water. Okay, if you look at Russia, pretty stable, lots and lots of fresh water. But if you're Africa, you're in a lot of trouble. If you're Europe, you're in a lot of trouble. If you are Middle East, you're in a lot of trouble. If you are Southeast Asia, you are not much trouble, but you are in some trouble, okay? So we already see how this map tells us where in the future, basically Russia and the United States, North America, are the most stable parts of the world with the most resources. And therefore, they are the most resilient, the most stable, okay? But if you go to Africa, Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia, these are points of conflict in the world. So we can expect these places to become much more unstable over time. So in other words, all the United States and Russia have to do is maintain stability and then export resources to these places. And guess what? And then they make a lot of money for themselves. Okay? So again, I understand Donald Trump's an idiot. I understand this war in the Middle East is stupid, but from a long-term game theory perspective, the United States wins from this disaster from a long-term perspective, okay? Now, you look at this map, you think, well, China's pretty good too, right? Like China.
Well, I mean, maybe they were right. Short-term gain. I mean, short-term pain for long-term gain. But maybe they weren't thinking about this long-term.
China has a lot of fresh water. The problem with China, though, is this. China sits on a lot of fresh water that Southeast Asia and India depends on, okay? So a lot of water is in the Tibetan Plateau. It flows downstream into India and in Southeast Asia. If there were a drought, using game theory, we can suspect that China might want to keep the water for itself, right? In which case, Southeast Asia and India would be very angry, okay? So this is a potential flashpoint that we have to watch out for. Okay? So it seems like China is stable, but the surrounding areas are not so stable. And so China will be dragged into a conflict. Okay? All right. So let's summarize what we've learned so far. So these are the countries with the most oil reserves, okay? Venezuela. Saudi Arabia, Iran, Canada, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, United States, Russia. Okay. All right. Now what's interesting about this is this. This war in the Middle East is going to knock out the oil production of Saudi Arabia, of Iran, of Iraq, of UAE, of Kuwait, which leaves what? Which leaves, Venezuela, Canada, and the United States, okay? North America, and Russia. Okay? Now, then let's look at who has to buy oil. All right? Let's look at who buys oil. Well, the United States consumes a lot of oil, but again, it has its own supply of oil. China needs to import a lot of its oil needs, okay? So China imports about 75% of its oil needs. India, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Japan, South Korea, okay? Germany, all right? So China, India, Japan, South Korea imports a lot of oil. And where does it get its oil from? The Middle East, right? So if it can't get its oil from the Middle East, then these four countries, China, India, Japan, and South Korea, will need to get the oil either from the United States or Russia. Okay? And why does this matter? Well, let's look at this. Let's look at who owns the most U.S. Treasuries. Ooh. Basically, if you own a lot of U.S. Treasuries, it means that you are financing American debt. America right now is $39 trillion in debt. That's a lot of money, but as long as people continue to buy U.S. debt, as long as people want to buy U.S. Treasuries, it's not a problem, okay? It's a Ponzi scheme.
That's true.
Okay. So let's look at this. Who are the biggest holders of U.S. debt? Japan, China.
Yeah, a lot of people confuse it to be China, but it is actually Japan that hold most of our debt.
Right?
Treasuries.
Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, India. Okay, so this is all Asia. And we already said that Asia needs our oil from the Middle East. Right? Now let's look at others. United Kingdom is second, okay? Cayman Islands is basically just Europe as well. It's a money laundering operation, okay? Belgium, Luxembourg, Canada, France, Ireland, Switzerland. These countries are Europe. And again, where do we say most oil from the GCC go? It goes to either Asia or Europe. And now because of the stupid war in the Middle East, Asia and Europe are now forced to buy oil from either Russia or the United States. And this is important, okay? This is important because previously there's a fear that these countries would stop buying US Treasuries because America is too heavily in debt. The American economy is too much of a Ponzi scheme. So there's this great fear that Europe and Asia would move away from the US dollar and more towards Swiss francs or gold, okay? Now, because Europe and Asia need fertilizer, they need energy from the United States and North America, the United States no longer has to worry about its debt, okay? All right, the $39 trillion debt, not a problem because the entire world is dependent on North America for resources. The Ponzi scheme can keep on going. So again, Donald Trump is an idiot, but he's so stupid, he's become a genius. Okay?
Anything's possible.
All right. Now you're like, wait, but Donald Trump's an idiot. Where would he get this idea from? How do you know how to do this? And the answer is because Putin has already proven that this strategy works in Ukraine. Oh. Okay, so let me show you how. Okay, so this is the war in Ukraine. And as you can see, the dark red are areas in which Russia is contesting territory. The light red, the pink are areas in which Russia wants to gain territory. As you can see, Russia still has a long way to go. And we're already 4 or 5 years into this war, which means that this war can go on for another 10, 20 years. It's a very slow grind. And it's good for Russia. Yes, I know that Russia is losing a lot of soldiers, and I know that the Russian economy is suffering, but this long war of attrition is good for Russia.
I mean, they're making money.
Well, because first of all, what it does is it allows Russia to industrialize its economy. Okay, it allows Russia to center its economy around war production. Okay, so the red, as you can see, is total industry. Okay, and as you can see, it's been going up since the war started. All right, overall industry has been going up as well. Unfortunately, industries that are not dominated by the military, that have no war purpose, it's actually going down. Okay, so it seems as though the entire Russian economy is being restructured for total war, for a long war, and that is the purpose, that is the goal. Okay, so again, the pink are military industries. The blue are civilian industries. And as you can see, the pink completely dominate the blue. And the trend is increasing, meaning it is possible in 4 or 5 years' time, Russia is primarily a war economy, industrializing to produce war weapons, okay, munitions. Specifically, drones, okay? These are drones. All right. So, before, at the beginning of the war, Russia was dependent on Iran for drones, okay? But then, what happened over time is that Russia started to have its own domestic production, okay? So imports from Iran have stayed constant, and then domestic production has gone way up, which tells us that the Russian economy is industrializing for the production of drones. And Russia is preparing to fight a long, long war. Now, not only can Russia produce its own drones for the war, but it can also export its drones to Iran to fight against the Americans. Okay? And so you're like, wait a minute here. So Russia is switching its entire economy to war production, which means that Russia will always fight wars. Is that what Russia's planning? And the answer is yes, it is.
Well, damn.
Okay? And so
I mean, taking a page out of our book. Well, it's kind of wild that Russia's doing that, but it makes sense. They're taking a page out of our book. Like, you know what? Constant war worked for the United States. Let's see how it works for us.
Let me explain why Russia is planning this.
Sick.
This is something called the Third Rome Plan, okay? And this comes from the 1996 book, Foundations of Geopolitics, okay? By Alexander Dugin, who I think is one of the smartest geopolitical thinkers alive today, okay? And his argument is this. His argument is this unipolar moment of American dominance, it's going to fade away because it's too much focus on secularism, individualism, liberalism. And these ideas break apart community. These ideas are anti-human. So eventually, Western society, Western civilization will collapse because its values are abhorrent. And when it collapses, this gives opportunity for Moscow to become the third Rome, okay? We'll talk more about this in the future. But what's brilliant about Dugin is he recognizes that when the world collapses, all Russia has to do is stay stable and resilient. As long as it stays together, unified, cohesive, it'll be fine, okay? Because as this global order collapses, as the global economy collapses, every other society will face eternal collapse, such as the United States, okay? So he predicts civil war in the United States as left and right go to war against each other, okay? He predicts collapse of China. He predicts collapse of the Middle East. He predicts collapse of Europe, okay? So all these places are collapsing. Basically, if you are the main pillar of the global economy, you are much more susceptible to collapse than if you are not, okay? So what Dugin says is this, okay? All right. So the strategy is, first of all,
it's like the stock market crash. It's like, but you wasn't in the stock market. It's like, yeah, you really had too much to lose. But people who were in the stock market, oh man, they lost hundreds and thousands.
Russia needs to stay coherent. It needs to defend its territory. It needs to unify its people through nationalism, through religion, okay, through faith. And then what Russia needs to do is figure out allies that would support the Russian outlook. And these allies could include Japan, okay? Vietnam, India, Iran, okay? And then by combining their forces, they become a trading bloc onto themselves. This is an age of nuclear weapons. You don't want to go to war against each other. But this is also an age of collapse. So as long as you're able to stay coherent, as long as you're
make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support, but let's make sure we like in the video. And also, if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, go ahead and set it in a super chat. Great way to support the show. Appreciate the support, guys.
able to defend your borders, then you'll come out ahead.
Like what I'm seeing.
Okay? So that's the idea of moving towards war, because war has a power to unify the imagination and the beliefs of the people in your nation. Right? So you're using war in order to increase the nationalism, the religion of your society, which will allow you to weather the storm better. Okay? So that is the grand vision of Alexander Dugin. And in my opinion, he is absolutely correct. And Russia is moving towards this by invading Ukraine. All right? So the Ukraine invasion was not a response to NATO. The Ukraine invasion was to implement this grand vision for the creation of the third Rome, to allow Russia to survive the coming collapse of the global order better than anyone else, okay? And so by taking over Ukraine, you now control 1/3 of the world's carbohydrates and a lot of the world's energy, right? Once you control Ukraine and the Black Sea, you're now able to export your energy and your food to Africa, to the Middle East, to Europe, to Asia, okay? So that's the grand vision for Russia. And again, in my opinion, this makes a lot of sense. The world is collapsing, and so you have to build a fortress. You have to be self-sufficient in order to weather the storm. So given this, America's like, well, we can do the same thing, okay? And so the grand plan for America is something called the Technate, okay? Sorry. This is something we'll discuss more later on, okay? But first I want to introduce this idea to you, the Technate.
Threw me off.
And the Technate is very simple. It's the idea that, you know what? Yes, the world is going into chaos. The world is collapsing. But North America is self-sufficient, right? So these past few months, Donald Trump has picking a fight with Denmark over Greenland, right? He's been threatening Canada. He's been threatening Mexico. He's been threatening Colombia. He's thinking over Venezuela. He's been threatening.
You know, it's okay. I was actually okay with this. I know people are going to call me an imperialist, but no, I was okay with us dominating our hemisphere because it's easy to reach in our hemisphere. We don't got to exert that much military force, and everybody's an easy win. I mean, I know it's effed up to say that, but yes, everybody in our region is an easy win for us. What's not an easy win is some of these guys over there on the other side of the world, like Russia, China, and Iran.
In Cuba. He's been threatening
Probably
Honduras, Nicaragua. Why is he doing this? Because they're all part of the grand vision for Greater North America. Okay, what Peter Hegseth calls Greater North America. The Technate. All right? And this is a response to Moscow's Third Rome. If Moscow is going to build this grand alliance in order to weather the storm, then America has no choice but to also build this grand alliance as well in order to protect itself in this coming storm. All right? So what Donald Trump has recognized is that Putin is right. The world is collapsing. There's nothing we can do to save the world. So let's just accelerate it in a way that allows America to benefit from this collapse. Okay? So by collapsing the GCC, by collapsing the Middle East, you make Asia and Europe now dependent on North American energy and fertilizer exports. And this allows you the resources, the motivation to create the Technate, okay? This self-sufficient economy, okay? Does it make sense? All right, okay. All right. So let us summarize, okay? So in September 11th, 1991, George H.W. Bush, he responds to the fall of the Berlin Wall, the collapse of Soviet Union, by coining a new phrase called the New World Order. And there are three major pillars to the idea of the New World Order, okay? The first idea is that America will become the financial capital of the world. America will offshore resources and manufacturing to other places. And then America will focus primarily on finance, making Wall Street the center of the world, okay?
Which, I mean, shit, that means fuck us. I mean, that's what it's pretty much saying. And if you want to have work, it means you better go outside the damn country. So if you ain't in finance, you're kind of cooked. It's like Ben Shapiro says, well, I guess if you just can't afford to live in America, maybe some of you guys should get out. I'm like, whoa. But, I mean, that's what's looking like this is going towards if this is this whole Trump New World Order. Only the bankers eat. Only the bankers can afford to live in the luxury of America.
The other idea is the idea of secular multiculturalism. So the world is divided, but what...
Shout out to my man Noah Joyner. He says, almost all the greatest inventions humans have came up with either came out during a wartime or after wartime has ended, which is true. That is very true. I don't like that it's that way, but I mean, I guess I don't know. Hard times inspire creativity. Like it'd be like that. Sometimes, like what was it? Pressure make diamonds. Well, yes, pressure makes high technological advances as well.
What can unite everyone is the love of money, the love of consumerism. So if we just focus on making money and buying things, then the world will be forever at peace. Okay? And so we have to let go of borders. We have to let go of community. We have to let go of identity and focus more on consumerism. Okay? And the last idea is global domination, where in order for global trade to happen, America will provide security for all. No one has to fight it anymore because America will guarantee global peace. If anyone rises to challenge this order, Pax Americana, then America will go destroy it. Okay? So these are the three main pillars of the New World Order as announced by George H.W. Bush on September 11th.
Like, shout out to my man Jet. Oh, and shout out to Noah too as well. He says, neither do I, but yeah, that gives credit to the idea that Earth is a death world. Yeah, I'll give you that one. I don't like it, but I mean, like I said, I mean, hard times create great things, apparently. I mean, like, what hard time were we going through for AI, though? But shout out to my man Jet. He says, I know, right? Violence causes creativity, I guess. Literally. Like, it'd be the worst of times, and people just inventing the craziest of things. So, I mean, shoot, maybe we do need a world war to get into this technological age where everybody don't gotta work and it's just a socialist utopia. Maybe we do need a little bit of war. I'm just playing, of course. But I mean, hey, it kind of goes into our man Noah's point, though, does it not?
1991. Okay. Trump world order is a response to this new world order. Basically, what Trump is saying, and what he's been saying for a long time is, why should America pay for the defense of other nations? Why should America have to be the consumer of last resort for everyone? Why are Americans paying for everything so that Europeans can have their welfare and their pension? Everyone's taking advantage of America and it's destroying America. Mm-hmm. So let us change the new world order to the Trump world order, okay? And how do you do that? Well, you move America from a focus on finance to a focus on resources and manufacturing, okay? Basically, you believe the world is going to permanent war, and so you provide the resources.
Hold the fuck on. Are you telling me that? Hold on. So Trump's, and this is just him speculating, of course, but what I'm summing up from this is that we're going to throw the world into an economic turmoil, pretty much basically damn near destroy the world economy as we know it, just to throw that other side of the world into war. Then we're going to go from a finance economy to a resource and manufacturing economy, and we're just going to start making weapons for the war that we pretty much caused through destabilizing the Middle East. Huh? Well,
and in manufacturing in order to facilitate this world war. Meanwhile, America has become Fortress of America. It can hide behind its fortress, continental fortress, and it's protected by two oceans, right? Okay, so this makes sense. Multiculturalism doesn't work. It leads to stupidity such as DEI, woke politics, transgenderism. It's all retarded. Let's focus on what makes us proud.
I mean, guys, like literally the plan is why these guys are fighting, or what he's predicting is why these guys are fighting over water and other resources. We'll just be selling them weapons on the side, and everybody here is going to have a job. We'll be making all of the weapons. So everybody prepare to have a job in, a drone or a missile factory.
To be Americans, which is Christian nationalism, okay? Our love of the white race, our nation, and God.
Hold on, son of a bitch. Hold on. Is that why all these drone factories are popping up out of nowhere? Hold up here. There's actually signs of this going on that I think about, especially here in like Ohio. We got a whole lot of drone factories popping up out of nowhere. Hold up here. Maybe.
On what makes us proud to be Americans, which is Christian nationalism, okay? Our love of the white race, our nation, and God. Okay? So no more of this multiculturalism. No more immigration. No more open borders. No more Democratic Party. Let's just focus on being Christian nationalists. Okay? Love the United States, love of Christianity, love of the white race. And the last idea is, why should America pay to protect the world? Screw Pax Americana.
That was crazy. These are people that would like, Steven Crowder, Matt Walsh, Nick Fuentes. These are what I ain't gonna lie. Nick Fuentes is actually pretty upfront about this. But Steven Crowder and Matt Walsh, this is what they secretly want. This is what they secretly want, low key. And I mean, I ain't mad at them for it. It's within their interest. But I mean, hey, they're not really too vociferous about it. But Nick Fuentes, he's really outspoken about it. He really he'll tell you this is what he wants. He said it multiple times.
Let's just do MAGA, okay? What is MAGA?
Worship of white people, country, and God. You know what? I'm all down with worshiping or the loving of country and God. What I'm not down with is the ass kissing of white people. And I love white people, but not enough to kiss their ass like that. Like, hold on now. They're going a bit too far. Shout out to my man Noah Joyner. For those who don't know, the death world theory is that due to Earth's gravity, apex predators, diseases, etc., is so deadly we should have died. This is why we aren't visited by aliens, and if we are, they don't stay long. It's due to the fact Earth's gravity, apex per dang. So you pretty much telling us that nobody S with us because it's just not worth it. It's like, first off, these guys out here all got guns. They're crazy. They might shoot you just because you look weird as an alien. I mean, second of all, bro, you might actually land in, I'm speaking as like an alien or something. Like, bro, you might actually land in a jungle somewhere. You get attacked by a jaguar. You don't even get to see no human, but you get to see a jaguar, and it's going to be the last thing you see. Or you can actually land somewhere in the Arctic and freeze to death. It's like, I don't know, bro. Going to Earth ain't really worth the squeeze. I could feel that. I actually feel that. If I was an alien, I'd be like, yeah, this is a pretty dangerous ass place. Can I get like a tour guide or something? Like, you need a tour guide to go through the Amazon forest. Why? Because it's a pretty dangerous place.
MAGA is national rejuvenation.
Shout out to my man Noah for the
Let's make America great again.
Appreciate the support, man.
Pay to protect the world. Screw Pax Americana. Let's just do MAGA, okay? What is MAGA? MAGA is national rejuvenation. Let's make America great again by rebuilding America's manufacturing.
Nah, Jed, I ain't gonna lie. They came out and seen the Pride Parade, they'd be like, yeah, we're going back. They're not there yet. Look, we thought they were advanced because we seen the buildings and all this good stuff, but I walked out, I seen a bunch of naked dudes in bikinis, and I was like, oh, yeah, they're not there yet. They're not there yet. We're going to give them like 50 more years. Shoot, that's what I'd assume.
Industry by exploiting the infinite resources that God has given America in order to make sure every American has a decent life. Okay? All right? So again, I understand Trump is an idiot. Trump has launched America into this stupid war in the Middle East. Trump has pissed off NATO. Trump has pissed off all of America's allies. So he's a retard. But if the goal was to destroy the American empire, destroy the global economy, and rebuild America for the benefit of Americans, then Trump is a genius. And he may go down in history as America's greatest president.
Bro.
Okay?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. If it plays out like this, I'm just gonna say, bro, the man is literally the president of 4D chess. That's all I gotta say. He's the president of 4D chess. I will no longer doubt Donald Trump ever again in my life if he pulls that off. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna have to. I'm just gonna be like, but bro, like, what, do you see now where we're going? This is the obvious path. But if it turns out to be this Trump world order, I'm just gonna have to give it to the man. I'm like, all right, bro, you're the president of 4D chess. I shall not question ever again. I'm sorry. Now, as much as I doubt it's gonna go like that, this is very much a possibility. Very much. So let's keep this in our back of our heads if things start, going in that direction, which I actually hope it does. That'd be great for us. Maybe not the whole worshiping of white race, but everything else is great.
All right. Any questions? Yeah.
My first question is, you mentioned that the Donald Trump or like Putin, they think that the world, like the whole system will collapse, inevitable. But like,
But all right, though, that's what you just went on the questions. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close on out, man. I appreciate the support, man, from all you guys, those who like the videos, sending in super chats and Venmos, man. Appreciate you guys. Still going through the shadow ban, man, but with your guys' likes and showing engagement, man, we're gonna go ahead and beat it in no time, and it can't keep us down forever. So we keep striving and pushing. But all right, guys, make sure to double tap that screen on your way out. I'll be back tomorrow around the same time. This is Set with Set Media, and I'll go ahead and leave you with a word from our guys at Kalshi. Make sure to go ahead and use that promo code when you first sign up with Kalshi, Set Media. Just go ahead and go to Kalshi when you sign up, ask for a promo code, put in Set Media, and go ahead and take advantage of that deal. When you put in 20, you get 20 back to go ahead and play around on the predicted market, which is Kalshi. All right, guys, Set from Set Media. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a real money market. People trading on what they think will happen. You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people, kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code setmedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy at Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who Trump nominated as Fed chair. Will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader? And will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi.